Hi, welcome to the fifth semester, course 6 of Special English. In this class, we're going to talk about what is literature. As students of Special English, you might have gone through several books of literature in your previous courses. It's a kind of recap or revision. Can you just recall what literature is? What do you call something literature? Literature, as we all know, it's a piece of information, right? When you buy a washing machine or a TV or any gadget, they will supply you with a brochure, and the brochure will have some information that's also called literature. But is that the literature we are talking about? Do you call that literature? Suppose you read an article in a journal or a newspaper. That is also called literature, right? When you read a poem, it is literature. When you read a short story too, that is also called literature. And a novel also is a part of literature. So, what is exactly literature? Is it a brochure which you receive from the hands of the salesman? Is it any article? Is it any poem? A short story or a novel? What's literature we are talking about? By literature we mean something, some text, which gives you information and at the same time which offers you some sort of entertainment. It relaxes your mind, it makes you think about certain things, and at the same time it refreshes your brain. So when you read a poem, when you read a short story or a novel, or when you watch a movie, when you watch a play, these genres come under literature. If you observe, there are many poets like Keats, like Wordsworth, like Byron, Chaucer, many playwrights and poets like Shakespeare, and then T.S. Eliot, many short story writers, many novelists are there. By the term literature, we mean some text which offers you entertainment and at the same time which offers you some information. What does literature exactly represent? What does it talk about? When you read a novel or when you read a short story or watch a play, you watch it about human beings. You read about human beings. When you read a poem, you read the emotions and feelings of the poet, about his personal emotions or feelings, or his feelings or emotions for society or fellow beings. It is about life. Literature represents life. Literature reflects life. It talks about us. When you read a novel with a protagonist and an antagonist, with a hero and a villain, the conflict that goes on between them, the conflict that goes on among characters or between characters, that's about life. When they talk about their emotions, they are talking about your emotions also. They are your feelings also. So, literature represents or reflects life. It talks about human beings, human emotions, and human feelings. When you become a student of literature, you understand life well. You know how to understand emotions and feelings. You know how to handle life, handle people, handle society also. For example, when you read these lines of John Keats, I almost wish we were butterflies and lived but 3 summer days. 3 such days with you I could fill with more delight than 50 common years could ever contain. What's the poet talking about? The poet is talking about his feelings, his emotions, his staying with his fiancée, how he could view them. This is something personal. These are not just the emotions of the poet. When you try to apply yourself, there will be your emotions too. So, literature talks about personal things. When writers talk about personal things, that's called subjective literature. And when they talk about others, when they talk about people, when they talk about society, that becomes objective. So, literature is of two kinds: subjective literature and objective literature. Subjective literature deals with the personal emotions and personal feelings, and the objective literature deals with the feelings of other people, the feelings of society. We cannot just say literature talks about personal things only. It thinks about society. It is the gesture of a good artist to talk about society, to comment on the evil ways of society, and to represent these evil ways in his works or in her works. So, the purpose of literature is both subjective and objective. There is also a didactic purpose. The poet has to talk about, or the playwright has to talk about society and give a message. But we cannot expect a message from each poem, each play, each novel, or a short story. Sometimes the short story writers or the poets or the playwrights, they offer an analytical view of society and leave it for us. It is your turn to take the message, to understand the situation and to respond to that in your own way. Why should we read literature? You have many courses, many programs: Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Arts, History, Economics, and other subjects are there. Why should we read literature? If you read commerce, you know how to maintain the accounts. If you know about science, you think logically about the facts in the world. But when you read literature, you know about life. Though you are very young, you may be 15 or 16 or 18, you may be. But when you read lots of books, lots of novels, when you understand lots of characters, you know more about life. What is happening here? What is your role as a human being? What is your role as a student, as a member in a family? How relationships go on? All these things will be made clear to you only through literature. To know more about society and people, when you read Boris Pasternak or Charles Dickens, you know about society and people. When you read Vijay Tendulkar's play, you know about the patriarchal society. When you try to read literature, you understand more about different cultures. When you read Manipuri literature, when you read Kashmiri literature, You understand the culture of that particular region. When you read people and their stories from all over the world, you know about life, society, cultures, and these things will help you to introspect yourself in the light of knowledge you gained. You try to assess yourself. What am I? Who am I? How should be my life? What am I doing here? This kind of thinking will be evoked by the study of literature. You change your outdated views. You become modern. You become progressive in your thinking. You understand what is right and wrong with you, and you become a good human being. You evolve as a perfect human being if you study literature. If you study the literature of your region, you will be able to know about society and people of your region only. But when you try to read literature from the world, from different nations across the world, you will be able to know different cultures, different kinds of people, their civilizations, their downfall or their growth in the stream of history, and you will become a global citizen there. In this course, an introduction to the world literature, you're going to read a Russian poet, an Australian poet, an Indian playwright, a South African novelist. You're going to understand the views of different critics and great short story writers. We hope this will help you to become a global citizen. Thank you, and we wish you all the best.